Okay, so another ride team member. Here we are with James Hawker. Now, James, you've been a finalist in how many World Championships?
Five now.
But you've not, unfortunately, won the gold yet.
Nope, still not.
Okay, so that's still something to aim for?
Yeah.
Okay, but I can say this, any time this guy paddles out on the water against you in a heat, you have the fear he is fully capable of taking any win he wants, apart from, unfortunately, the World Championships. But the main thing James has done, though, is carve out pretty much all the ride boats. So he's the designer, he's the brains behind it, the genius behind it. I want to just talk to you about the design process, first of all, James.
Okay,
how do you get started on a new design?
Well, normally in this case, in the most recent one, the Zenith, I spoke to Tim and Chris about what they wanted in the next design. I've been shaping kayaks and wave skis for a lot of years now, and so I've got a whole lot of existing templates that I've had for wave skis for different weights, different sizes, different waves.
And are you designing by hand shaping, or are you designing on the computer? I mean, what's your process?
Mixture of both. I've done a lot of years of hand shaping, but now I have a CNC machine which is big enough to do kayaks on.
And you built it yourself, am I right in saying this?
I did, yes, yeah.
And you can do a whole kayak. There's not many places you have that anyway, not just for yourself.
Yeah, I can do a whole kayak on that, yep.
That's pretty cool. There's not many kayaks out there done like that still. A lot of them are hand shaped. Okay, that's pretty neat. So you talked to Chris and Tim about what they wanted. You go back, you start getting the template. What's the first part? You're starting bottom, top, side, rails. Where do you go from?
I mean, for one that's designed for CNC cutting now, that'll be designed on the computer. So you start with the outline curves and start filling in the details with 3D CAD modelling for that. And then that's then converted into a program to be cut on the CNC machine. The hand shaping process is a little bit different. You start with a foam block. The outside templates go on first.
Yep.
It's hot wire cut around that. Then you lay on outline profiles and start shaping down from there.
Cool. And roughly how long would that take?
To do it by hand takes probably about a day or so to do the shape in foam.
Yeah.
And then to glass that up and turn that into a highly polished Class A surface. That then takes probably another week or so.
Wow.
And then mould building's another week after that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then are you? I mean, from your point of view, what would kind of like, when you walk away from it, what sort of designs do you really like going for? I mean, what would sort of, really tick your boxes in terms of what you want to put into a boat?
Well, it's always been the new aspects, trying out new things, seeing what works. They're the things that have really driven me over the years.
Yeah.
To try and do something that's a little bit new, a little bit innovative. That's the bit that really drives me.
And say right now, if I say, right, James, what's the next one around the corner? Without giving too much away, what sort of moves perhaps are we looking to want to be doing?
I think. I mean, still aerial moves are the thing I think everyone's aspiring towards.
Yeah.
Obviously you need the waves to be able to do that as well.
Yeah.
The Zenith is proven to be pretty popular. It's a really high performance design. I think that's going to continue to be popular for the foreseeable future. I think it might be nice to do a Zenith that works for a slightly larger paddler as well.
Yeah, I mean, so you and I can paddle the Zenith, but Chris, we know, he can paddle it, but it's sitting a little lower in the water. He's a big player for the waves game.
Yeah, I think that's something I'd quite like to work on next. I think, yeah.
Okay, we appear to be in a sandstorm at the moment, which is nice. But meanwhile, let's have a little look at the boats down here with James. So we're just talking about the Zenith, so this is it here. So just want to talk us through the whole of this a little bit. First of all, James, what really is generating what out of the hull in terms of its performance?
Yeah, the hull on this is really similar to the last wave skis that I was making. So you've got plain V in it, which is standard on most of the high performance skis. You've also got a bevel at the front, which just softens the front rails a little bit. So when you're sliding out of a floater or coming down from an aerial, just lifting that front rail at the front makes it a load more forgiving, much less likely to trip.
Yeah, I mean, I've dropped down off stuff and it just kind of rides out on that. You just put it on it and away you go.
Yeah, you get away with absolutely loads of stuff in this. I mean, it's a slight little mistake or something, and this will just kind of surf out of it. Yeah.
What about the drive in terms of speed generation? Where's that kind of coming from out of this boat?
It's got very thin rails on this boat, so thinner rails, generally faster. This kayak, probably of all the surf kayaks, has got one of the narrowest tails, and certainly behind the cockpit here, it's got a fairly small cockpit. And the idea behind that is as narrow as possible, so that the angle there, this really is the critical angle, just behind the seat, is as sharp as possible. It's also quite a narrow kayak, this one. It's only about 24 inches wide, which is narrower than most of the
do you
others.
think they might go narrower again, or are they going to stay? Is that kind of
Potentially. I think the problem is with the cockpit width there, you're kind of limited, because the narrower you go on the rail, the more vertical that becomes. And actually what you want to do is make that quite an acute angle.
to get over and get some support?
But equally, you don't want to make it too wide here, because the wider the tail is, the harder it becomes to turn the kayak.
Let's have a little look at the Eclipse next. So I've described this, you know, and I've written up descriptions on the website and stuff like that, as a hybrid.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of like pioneered it. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously it's just my mental it's clearly derived from it, which is really popular in international class kayaks. And this really is a shortened Equinox, but it's kind of like a really easy boat to paddle, really. It's got a lot of the nice characteristics of the IC boat, so it's fast to paddle around the water. You don't need much of a wave to get going on it. But just the slight decrease in length in it makes it a lot higher performance than the international class.
I think what I find with the Eclipse is that you can see someone who paddle it who's, let's say, a beginner or intermediate kayak surfer, and they can progress really fast. But you can also put like a world champion in it, and they can literally fly around.
Yeah, it seems to suit absolutely everyone, really. Yeah.
What's your take on fins with this boat? Because I mean, quite a lot of us use fins with it. Some people don't. You can configure it with 2 fins or tri fins or a single. What would be your choice?
I think for me, I would never put fins in this for myself. I think you can push the boat to do more things without fins in it. The fins are quite nice for somebody that's perhaps learning a bit, is more of a beginner. The fins can give them extra control and make the boat a little bit easier to surf. But I think for the top end of the sport, the really high performance paddlers, I think without fins is probably the way to go. It makes the boat a lot looser, so you can slash it and throw it into moves. But having said that, it's really easy to keep it in control. You don't really lose the tail on it. And you can still bottom turn and drive it into some nice fast moves and nice steep parts of the wave.
Great, fantastic. We've got the Equinox, which is obviously the IC boat, but just another one that's not here. The Mutant is another boat that's not here. Now that's an interesting boat. I've paddled it. What was the thinking with that one?
Yeah, that's one that I really enjoyed designing that one and making that one. It's one where I've kind of done something that is pretty unusual on that, and that over the years has been something that's really driven me. I have done some quite unusual stuff.
Yeah. What was the one thing you were wanting out of that boat, or what was it kind of achieving?
It was very, very close. It was actually the first kayak I had. The predecessor to that was a custom kayak that I took to the North Carolina Worlds. So that was shaped from a foam block. There was no mould involved in that, and I made that specifically for that competition. And it was really identical to a really, really good wave ski I was using at the time. And that worked really well. It was probably a little bit too close to the wave skis, I think, for most kayakers, and some kayakers found that the wave ski position is very, very close to the tail. I think for a lot of kayakers, they felt like the kayak was leaning backwards as they were paddling around on flat water, and maybe a little bit difficult to catch waves. So the Mutant, I shifted the seat a little bit further forwards, but actually it's still very, very close to that original custom kayak that I did. So that is quite a different characteristic to any of these boats. That boat will accelerate really, really fast. It's very flat rocker on it, relatively wide straight rail on it, so you can generate loads of speed in that. But the tail on that is only 23 inches from the back of the tail to the back of the seat.
Wow, what's that, about a quarter of what we're looking at here?
Yeah, probably. It's got a very, very short tail. So that's an incredibly high performance boat. It is quite unusual looking, and it's probably not for everyone, but for somebody that's looking for that kind of performance.
That top edge.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Excellent. All right, well, we'll look forward to maybe seeing you in it.
Yeah.
James, listen, that's been fascinating. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, thanks for that.
We'll see you on the water.
Yeah, see you on the water.
Take care, all.